Now, join me in welcoming our next speaker, Alex Dimitrief. Alex is the president and CEO of General Electric's Global Growth Organization. His role involves driving General Electric's international growth by addressing critical needs in the more than 180 countries where General Electric does its business. He joined the company in 2007 and has held a number of leadership positions in its legal and compliance functions, including serving as general counsel. Given that our law school's latest entering class was 60% female, we are inspired by the company's efforts to close the gender gap in science, technology, engineering, and math positions by 2020. And indeed, GE has set impressive and ambitious targets to advance its goals. In addition, GE's Women's Network, which recently celebrated its 20th anniversary and now includes hubs in 60 countries, is a critical part of this work across the world. Alex uses his global platform to amplify GE's gender equity and diversity efforts. His work demonstrates that the private sector is critical to making our world more just and equitable. Many of our graduates go on to work in business and industry, and Alex is an example to them of the tremendous influence they can have and the genuine change they can create. For that, we are proud to present him with an Honorary Doctor of Laws degree from New York Law School. Alex, please join me at the podium.
Trustees, Dean Crowell, Justice Breyer, fellow honorees, distinguished faculty and members, families, and friends of the class of 2018. Words cannot do justice to how honored I am to be here this afternoon to help celebrate the rich traditions of New York Law School. Or as people who really know this great city might more properly say, the New York Law School. The theme of today's commencement ceremony resonates with me both personally as a first-generation American and professionally as an executive at GE, which champions diversity around the world. But at the same time, I must confess that it's a little intimidating the first time that you're asked to speak at a commencement. So as I grappled with how to prove worthy of Dean Crowell's invitation, I did what most people who are plagued by moments of self-doubt do these days. I asked Siri and Alexa for some help. Now, I think Marissa can tell you, based on her award-winning writing and research, that Alexa has had her share of pretty serious privacy problems recently. So I apologize in advance to those of you who may have already overheard my discussions with her. But their first piece of advice to me was to avoid using cliches like, your education is just beginning. Fair enough. But there's one saying within legal circles that is just too apt for me to forego today. With due credit to the fictitious but legendary Professor Kingsfield of the paper chase, the most valuable lesson that the professors of New York Law School have taught you is how to think like a lawyer. Thinking like a lawyer means respecting the views of people who disagree with you. It means listening, and I mean really listening, to both sides of an argument and making sure that people on both sides of an issue are afforded a fair chance to state a principled case. It means believing in the power of ideas and reasoned debate, and standing up in a principled and respectful way for your ideas, even when, actually especially when, others are engaging in shouting, name-calling, and hate-mongering. In these challenging times, the world needs more people who think like lawyers. As I watch what passes for political discourse in the United States these days, I don't think it's a coincidence that there are fewer lawyers in Congress than at any other time in our nation's history. To me, the one positive thing that came out of the 2016 campaign was that politicians honestly lost any right to tell jokes about lawyers, or for that matter, anyone else. Still, we'll continue to likely see t-shirts, mugs, and posters with that infamous quote from Shakespeare. The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. Here's the catch. Most people who cite this quotation to bash attorneys do not appreciate that when Dick the Butcher uttered this exhortation to his fellow revolutionaries, he was actually paying lawyers a very profound compliment. At the time of King Henry VI, lawyers were regarded with great respect as the keepers of the rule of law who were indispensable to a civilized society. The same holds every bit as true today, ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2018. You have chosen a noble profession with a great responsibility, and don't you ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Now, the second piece of advice that I got from Siri and Alexa about commencement addresses was to make my remarks personal. So this advice made me breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, because today's commencement theme of lead locally, impact globally also happens to describe my company's approach towards competing internationally. GE has grown from an American to a global brand by becoming a local company with amazing teams in the more than 180 countries where we do business. Diversity and inclusion have been important parts of this transformation. Diversity captures all the many ways in which our employees around the world differ. Inclusion means developing environments in which all of our employees can participate, reach their full potential, and in the process empower GE to reach its full potential. Reflecting the richness of the communities and cultures in which we operate around the world fuels GE's innovation, fosters a limitless source of ideas, and empowers our teams to bring the best of GE science and technology to bear in their countries as we work with our customers to power, to move, and to cure the world. At GE, our past 125 years, one short of New York Law School, have left us convinced that a company that aspires to change the world should reflect the mosaic of that world. In this spirit, by way of example, as Dean Crowell mentioned, we set ambitious goals to significantly increase the number of women in STEM jobs and our technical entry-level leadership programs by the year 2020. We are determined to recruit, retain, and promote more women with degrees in STEM who may previously have chosen not to pursue careers in STEM or with companies like GE. We refer to this initiative as Balance the Equation. And when you think about it, how can any company authentically aspire to tackle the world's most challenging issues in aviation, healthcare, and energy without including half the population of our planet in the process? The goals for GE Global Law and Policy are just as ambitious. GE champions legal fellowships within and outside of GE that support women and communities of color, and partners with its outside law firms to increase the hours that diverse lawyers at our law firm spend working on GE matters. I'm proud of the progress that we are making at GE, but we don't pretend to be perfect, and we certainly can't rest on our laurels. We need to double down on efforts like Balance the Equation and legal fellowships because discrimination, bias, and unfairness remain all too prevalent, even if some of us may never experience them firsthand. In this respect, as I said before, today's theme of bridging cultures is also personal to me as a first-generation American. I stand before you this afternoon as living proof that the American dream can be more than a romantic ideal. The son of Russian parents, Valentina and Alexei, who came to this country nearly 60 years ago without knowing a single word of English, and by dint of their hard work and sheer determination, made incredible opportunities available for me, for which I will be eternally grateful. I will never, ever forget the huge smile on my dad's face when I was inducted as a White House Fellow back in 1985, and President Reagan said to a room full of proud parents that only in America could an immigrant hope to see his son get a job working for the President of the United States at 27 years old. But sometimes, as I read today's headlines, I ask myself if I would have been able to persevere through the tougher moments of my career if I had not been a white male. And I've been asking myself this question with a heightened sense of urgency as the father of 3 daughters and uncle of 5 nieces who are just beginning their own careers. Amidst this personal reflection, I've also come to appreciate that there would be no GE as we in the world know it without our smart, dedicated employees from all over the globe of all religions, all nationalities, genders, sexual orientations, and races. The evolution of GE and my own personal evolution over the past 59 years from growing up in the relative seclusion of central Illinois to becoming the CEO of GE Global have taught me that genuine inclusion equals humanity. My professional experience at GE and with other companies over the past 35 years have also taught me that the character of executives undoubtedly shapes a company's approach towards issues such as diversity. But a company's character likewise significantly influences the behavior of its executives. This is where you, as our next generation of lawyers, are poised to make such an important difference. Please help us rededicate ourselves to a rule of law and a sense of justice that do not allow the rights or opportunities of anyone to be restricted based on presumptions inappropriately drawn from their gender, religion, ethnicity, heritage, or sexual orientation. My generation of lawyers is counting on you to step up to attend to our unfinished business, to get everyone to own up to the reality that issues affecting women, people with disabilities, African Americans, Hispanics, Asian Americans, and members of the LGBTQ communities are really everyone's issues. Do your part to make law firms, businesses, and government agencies genuine meritocracies in which success is determined by the quality of people's work and not by how they look, their gender, their religion, which languages they speak, the color of their skin, or whom they love. I speak of such lofty goals today because you are joining a profession with a great tradition of acting as catalysts for change and for promoting justice in our jobs, through our pro bono activities, and through volunteer organizations. Time will undoubtedly be sometimes hard to find, but please do not let your busy life as a new lawyer completely get in the way of your larger aspirations. Remember, lead locally, impact globally. The next piece of advice that I got from Siri and Alexa was to offer a few pieces of advice that, with the benefit of hindsight, I wished I'd heard at my own law school commencement back in 1985. So if you'll bear with me, here are a few thoughts based on what I've experienced over the past 33 years. Be a source of truth. Be the person in the room, whether it's a courtroom, a conference room, or anywhere else that your career takes you, to whom people know they can turn when they want or need to hear an honest assessment. Edit your own writing relentlessly. How well you communicate really matters, and your emails, letters, briefs, and draft agreements will always make first and lasting impressions. Take chances whenever they are made available to you. The longer you wait to take that first deposition, step up to be the lead negotiator, to give that first presentation or make that first appellate argument, the harder it's going to be. Be civil. Don't write nasty letters. Don't make snide remarks. Don't let lesser opponents bait you into returning their nastiness. Being civil will set you apart in all of the right ways. Be present. To paraphrase John Lennon, careers are what happen when you're busy making plans for the next big thing. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everyone does. I certainly have. It's being smart enough to learn the right lessons from those mistakes that counts. Ask questions and listen, and again, I mean really listen to the answers. People are honored when you care what they think and you include them in your work. Stay humble. Legends of our great profession, like Justice Breyer and Professor Ellman and Executive Director Storm, are distinguished by accomplishment to ego ratios that are off the charts. You would do well to emulate their humility and their modesty. And finally, be yourself and chase the dreams that are important to you. Because when you're being yourself, absolutely no one else can tell you that you're doing it wrong. So the last and most important piece of advice that I received from Siri and Alexa was not to stay up here for so long that I become infamous as the speaker who stood between the class of 2018 and a final gathering at Tribeca Tavern to celebrate your graduation and your accomplishments. So congratulations on your graduation. I thank you for this great honor, and I bid you Godspeed in your exciting journeys ahead.
Thank you, Alex. And I guess Alexa and Siri too? No, but thank you, Alex. It was great.